things that are, necessary to survival. Okay. Um, it says the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Okay. And there, we see that you go into these stores, okay, and the shelves are getting more and more bare, okay, each time, right? And meanwhile, as they're getting more and more bare, because of inflation, okay, the prices are increasing. Okay, so let's grab that word for inflation. And I'm gonna go back to the scripture. It says inflation, a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money. Okay, so because of the lack of supply, right? Because demand is greater than supply, that means that equals inflation. Okay, whenever the demand is greater than supply, that means prices must rise. Okay, you got people who are looking to go buy all these different goods, but all of these different goods aren't on these shelves. Okay, and because of that, okay, because of the fact that you have these prices that are rising, okay, this is leading, okay, to hyperinflation, okay, which is just inflation on a completely, astronomical scale. Okay, it says, and the trumpet shall give a sound. When every man hear it, they shall suddenly be afraid. Okay, when you go back to this video, right, understand that out of all of this chaos that is soon to ensue due to this economic collapse, okay, and due to everything that's been brought upon this the world, okay, due to that, they're gonna lock this place back down again. Okay, understand that, they're gonna lock this place back down again due to all the chaos that is soon to ensue because of this great tribulation. Okay, it says, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear it, they shall suddenly be afraid. Okay, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Okay, so they're going to cut off the water as well. Okay, so, we got all these shortages of food, okay, shortages of oil. Okay, you got all these prices that are skyrocketing. Okay, and meanwhile, okay, they're also planning on, shutting down the water. Okay, they're gonna shut off the water. Okay, and they're gonna, start doing different things with the water. Okay, and all of these things are a recipe for disaster. Okay, all these things are gonna cause chaos to ensue on the highest level. It says, whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. Okay, and this is the end of the world. Okay, this is everything that you would expect to happen, okay, at the end of the world. Okay, because we're living in the times of the end. Okay, all right, and that's why Yahawashi told the disciples, okay, as far as, touching on when the end will be and when will be the return of his second coming. Okay, Yahawashi said, and because iniquity shall abound, right, the love of many shall wax cold. Okay, so you got all these different, things that are going on that are, causing a recipe for disaster. Okay, this is going to cause a lot of chaos. Okay, this is going to cause a lot of chaos to ensue. Okay, and that's why scripture told us that these are the times of Jacob's trouble. Okay, in the times of great tribulation. Right, it says, and man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Okay, and because once they lock this place back down again, because of all the chaos that's ensued, okay, you're not going to be able to go into another city. Okay, martial law. Okay, they're going to lock these place back down. They're going to lock, grid by grid. They're going to be locking this place down. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. Okay, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Right. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay, so because all these shortages that are going on, right, the lack of food. Okay, you got a famine that is, a famine that is here. Okay, you got all these different things going on. Okay, this is going to cause iniquity to abound greatly. Okay, and the love of many people is going to wax cold, okay? And that's why you're going to start seeing a lot more civil unrest, okay? A lot more riots, right? A lot more protests, okay? A lot more people standing up against their government, a lot more division, okay? You're going to have a lot of different chaos going on, right? So let's go ahead and grab this next video, okay?
Lots of folks have been getting, they want the... Let's dive deeper now into that disappointing jobs report for the month of April with Evan Sohn, Chairman and CEO of Recruiter.com. Evan, thanks for being with us. We're seeing an ironic dynamic playing out. The unemployment rate is rising unexpectedly to 6.1% last month, yet more and more businesses are saying they're having a hard time filling positions, especially for those lower wage type positions. What's going on here?
You know, I hate to use the word, and first, thank you for having me on your show. I hate to use the word unprecedented, but the jobs market now is unprecedented. We're getting a tighter job market in the highly skilled jobs, and yet the unemployment rate in under college grad, so high school grad and below, is just increasing significantly. Access to the hourly workers is harder than ever before. You know, you're seeing the public job boards have millions and millions of jobs open, yet there are millions and millions of people unemployed, and they're even more unemployed. This really is an unprecedented thing. And I'll tell you, one of the things that our Recruiter Index pointed out was for the first time in the index, it actually hit 4% for talent acquisition, meaning companies were actually hiring more recruiters than they were hiring before. That's one of the jobs they were looking for, companies hiring recruiters to help fill these roles. Now, the Recruiter Index actually dipped down for the month, and maybe they knew a little bit better than the rest of us did that there is a difficult job market now.
All right. And before I, finish the rest of the video, that's pretty much the point. As far as unemployment is rising, but more businesses are not able to find workers. Okay. And, that's scriptural, right? So let's go ahead and grab it. It says Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 3. Okay. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, right? And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. Okay. And the grinders are the workers. Okay. This is the workforce, right? It says, and the grinders shall cease because they are few, right? And those that look out of the windows be darkened. Okay. Okay. Because you got to understand that, these people look out the windows, okay, though they be darkened, meaning that, the future is not bright anymore. Okay. The future for America, okay, is not bright anymore. Okay. This is the time of the end. Okay. So, these people who once had all these different high ambitions and hopes and dreams and all those things are out the window. Okay.
So were there any bright spots as part of this report for you? Any bit of optimism looking out ahead, at least when it comes to the labor market?
Right. You see, they say, are there any bright spots? Okay. Looking out ahead when it comes to the labor market. Okay. And they're despite what this guy's about to say, the fact of the matter is scripture told us that the windows, and though those that look out the windows be darkened. Okay. So there is going to be there's nothing bright that is coming out of this. Okay. There's no optimism that's coming out of this. Okay. These are the times wherein the scriptures say, are like a woman in travail. Okay. It's not going to be anything good that's going to come out of this. Okay. As these birth pains continue to increase more and more and more, okay, things are going to get only worse and worse and worse. Okay. Before that ultimate destruction. Okay.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is, we saw financial services, accounting services, those were up. Healthcare is pretty consistent. Manufacturing was consistent. Logistics were consistent. Sales jobs were all of a sudden up. We haven't seen that, and those were up a couple of points in the index themselves. The return to work is not just going to be remote. I think those remote jobs were filled. That's what I would probably say, and I think there's a shift now to, I think 70-something% were now either in person or hybrid. So that's even if it's a hybrid job, that's still going to be geographically located job. And I think before, certainly over the last bunch of months, when you were looking for roles that were 100% remote, it didn't matter where they were, and it was probably easier to fill those roles. Now we're up against challenge of geographically located jobs. So I have to find the right person with the right skill set, willing to take the job at the right price, at the right location, who's willing to actually come into the office as well. And we're seeing childcare issues and other issues of people wanting to stay remote. And we're going to have this tension now of candidates that want to stay remote and the jobs that need to come in person.
Evan, I want to get your take on what the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is calling for now. They're blaming this week's jobs report in part on those $300 enhanced unemployment benefits that lots of folks have been getting. They want the government to stop those payments because they say they are not incentivizing people to go out and get the jobs, especially those lower wage jobs where we know a lot of employers are having trouble filling them. Do you think that might actually help things and get people back to work?
Look, I actually agree. We've seen anecdotally with some of our customers in the hourly workers where they've seen an increase in churn, and that's not with our customers, but that whole sector. Why work if I could actually stay home and make similar money not working? But
all right, exactly. Well, that's the point. Okay, why are these people going to work when they can make more money from home? Okay, so you got the labor shortage. You got the labor shortage, okay, that's going on as well, okay? So not only is it a shortage of, consumer goods, right? Food, okay, oil, okay, and all these different things, okay? There's also a labor shortage going on as well, okay? And these are all recipes for economic collapse, okay? These are all recipes for economic collapse, right? So let's go ahead and continue on. I wanted to go ahead and grab this video by Dabu7. Okay, just touching on that, what they, so-called said a cyber attack forces shutdown of the oil pipeline. Okay, and whether or not that the cause of it be from a cyber attack, okay, whether or not the cause of it is actually from a cyber attack or not, okay, the effect is still going to be the same. Okay, you got oil that is going to oil and gas prices that is continuing to increase because of this. Okay, and this is going to cause a lot. This in and of itself, okay, is a very catastrophic event. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the video.
This is Dabu7. We're dealing with a massive cyber attack that has now forced the shutdown of the largest gasoline pipeline in the United States. This is critical. We put out a lot of information, a lot of videos, but we are now under direct attack by someone that is hitting our country and now crippling not only the hospitals, but now the biggest gasoline pipeline that we have. This 5,500-mile Colonial Pipeline, the single largest refined products pipeline in the U.S., halting transit. And as far as we could see, it was still offline. This began Friday. And they're saying if this continues into this week, it could send prices soaring. This is where most of the East Coast gets its gasoline. And you can see right here the route in all the states connected into this. This pushes 2.5 million barrels per day. It makes up 45% of all of the East Coast fuel supply. It is absolutely massive. None of the mainstream or no one else is really talking about this big time, yet this is major. Just like they weren't really talking about all the institutions and the banks and the hospitals and these other places that were getting hit. They'd make a little mention and then push on, but this is critical. This is big time. Their silence on this is setting off alarms. And let me remind you that in this ransomware environment, what they're doing is they're asking these places to pay them in Bitcoin. Now, this is where it all falls apart if you have half a brain. Bitcoin was built on an SHA-256 algorithm That would.
Okay, but that's the point. And I guess he goes into talking about Bitcoin and stuff. But nonetheless, that's also another problem. The digital currency, is on the rise as this dollar is actively being crashed due to this economic collapse. Okay, but the point of the matter is that the price of gasoline, okay, due to this, now that we're gonna have a lack of oil, okay, downward in this pipeline was cyber attack, they say, okay, all of these things are gonna cause the prices of gas, okay, and all these prices to continue to rise, okay, and this is the same time wherein the value of the dollar that people has, okay, it's not going to have the same purchasing power that it once had, okay, which is going to lead me to my next video, okay, but this is all leading to a hyperinflation, okay, and what they call stagflation, right, which I looked up the word, okay, because it was my first time hearing it, okay, but it says stagflation, okay, and I'm going to read this, okay, and you tell me if this doesn't sound like what's going on right now, okay. It says stagflation is characterized by slow economic growth, okay, and we're in a time of slow economic growth, okay, actually an economic recession. Everything is going backwards and downhill, right? That's why they're trying to give all these stimulus checks into the economy, okay, because the economy it's not thriving, right? It says stagflation is characterized by slow economic growth and relatively high unemployment, okay? And we just seen the videos going into how this unemployment is super high because these people, they rather keep those checks instead of going to work. It says, or economic stagnation, which is at the same time accompanied by rising prices, okay? Inflation, okay? Are prices not rising? Okay? Are the prices of all these different goods not rising because the supply, the demand is outweighing the supply, right? It says stagflation can also be alternatively defined as a period of inflation combined with a decline in gross domestic product. Okay, so understand that these rising prices, okay, this high unemployment, okay, and this this slow economic growth, this is all leading us to stagflation, okay, which is ultimately it's just a worse form of inflation, okay, and hyperinflation, okay, and let me go ahead and grab this video, just to make it more clear, right?
I now want to take something which is part of your daily life, right? You who are watching us or listening to us, and turn it into a very important and relevant news story. This is something that you have already noticed, which is that suddenly you are paying a hell of a lot more for stuff today than you were, say, a year ago, or say, I don't know, a few months ago even. And I'm going to give you some examples, okay? And I want to start with the price of gasoline. All right, $2.33 a gallon, March of 2020. A year later, it's at $2.90. That's gas. Let's take a look at milk.
All right, and then before he continues, okay, that's gas before, okay, you had this incident with this pipeline, okay, and before, there was a lack of truck drivers to deliver this oil and things, okay? So the price of gas is just going skyrocketing through the roof, okay?
Everybody has to buy milk, right? Or most families do. You start a year ago, a gallon of milk was $3.54. It's now at $3.59. It's up, not as much, but the point is, everything is up. You know what else is going up? Through the roof. Home prices. Try going out there and buying a home these days. Just a 3-2, as they say. Single family home. $273,000 was the average price. It's now $334,000, more than $334,000 for the average home in the United States. Oh, how about trying to buy a car? How about going out there and trying to buy a car these days? Spring of 2020. Average car sale in the United States, $34,000. Right now, $37,000. Just 1 year later. And, it's continuing. So what is this? And what's going on, right? This is what economists would call the beginning of inflation. That could get much worse and maybe even turn into something economists call stagflation, where just regular folks can't afford to buy things because they're essentially priced out of those markets. Speaking of economists, we're joined now by one of the best. Here is UMass Amherst professor, host of the Economic Update, Dr. Richard Wolff. All right, Dr. Wolff, take it away. What's going on and what can we expect to see in the year to come?
Well, what we're beginning to see is something that has worried observers of the American economic system for a long time. At least as far back as 2008 and 9, the crash of those years, and continuing pretty much, and then getting more intense over the last year. And here's what we see. A growing quantity of money pumped into the economy by the Federal Reserve. Way more money than could be justified by an increase in the output of goods and services. And then you have a simple law. If all that extra money were to be out there looking to buy goods and services, since the quantity of money went up a lot and the goods and services didn't, then you'd expect the people with the money to bid against one another, driving up the prices. The only reason that did not happen was that there wasn't a demand enough. The companies didn't dare raise their prices because they knew that the economic fallout of those crises, the unemployment and the difficulties people face, were making them wary of buying. So they didn't. And the money had to go somewhere, so it went to the stock market. What people don't realize is in the last 10 years, we have had the inflation, only not in the market for goods and services, but in the price of stocks on the stock exchange, because that's gone crazy over this period of time. And now the last step, the pandemic, the terrible year 2020, when the companies who couldn't raise their prices suffered a loss of business because of the pandemic and the crash with 30 million people, if you count properly, out of work. They are now in deep trouble. They borrowed money to get through the hard times. They want to pay back those debts. They want to make the profits they couldn't make in the past. And so they are now raising prices on average 5 to 10%, with many going higher, in a somewhat desperate effort to recoup, to make sure that as the economy has these ongoing difficulties, they keep their hands on their profits. And as you're right, Rick, as they do that, everybody who has to buy goods and services is going to suffer a decline in what they can afford.
And if this continues and the prices continue to go up, down to 30 seconds, Professor, where does this lead us to? What happens if regular folk, as I said, are locked out of the market because of these increasing prices?
One of two things, or maybe a combination. The first one is that these companies, and this has happened in the past, discover they cannot do that. By raising those prices, they will lose so much business that they go back and undo the price increases. That's one option. The other option, much more frightening, is that they will determine that the United States is simply for them not the place to be, that the people can't afford this stuff here, and they're going to become more and more focused on where in the world markets are growing, China being a major example, and be even more interested in getting into that market than they have been in the past. So I think people are going to have to watch very carefully as this inflationary trend makes itself felt.
I'm hearing great things about Costa Rica this time of the year. Richard Wolff, my thanks to you for that report. Always good stuff.
All right, so you heard it. Okay, we're on a road to stagflation. Okay, we're in the buying power you once had is not going to be able to get you the things that you once had. Okay, and that's the times we're living in. Okay, so understand that this great tribulation that the scripture speaks of. Okay, this great tribulation is going to far surpass the Great Depression. Okay, we're gonna far surpass that great recession. All right, because this is the end. Okay, this is the time when the Most High is bringing a culmination, right? Okay, of all of these things together. Okay, he's bringing a culmination of all these things together.